Chapter 4. All aboard? Who's got a smooch cake for old Pop-Pop?
We do!
Sang three eager voices. Zale's granddaughters ran into his embrace and pecked his bristly cheeks with kisses. He shook hands with Dane, Haley's husband, and walked into their home, exchanging greetings. Baby Hazel reached out from Haley's arms, and Zale gladly took her into his own. "Squeak-a-limp!" he piped in his playful, higher-pitched voice. Whenever possible, Zale made it a point to visit his grandchildren before setting sail. If things went well with their upcoming 2 voyages, fewer of his visits would be for the purpose of saying goodbye. Tonight, Zale and Lola were in for a treat. Fresh pottage stew with boiled vegetables and roasted beef, followed by leftover marzipan cake from Nova's birthday. The broth's warm, savory smell set Zale's stomach to growling, a most welcome home-cooked meal before subjecting himself to Wigglebelly's cooking aboard the Queenie. "This smells delicious, Haley," Lola said.
Pop-Pop,
started little Nova timidly.
could you say the treasure of Mac?
Zale thought a moment. "The treasure of Mac, you say? You've got a prodigious memory there." He took a seat, his granddaughters gathering round. "Now, girls, sailors hear a great many tales and stories over the years. This one I've known most of my life, since I was just a lad, passed it down from my parents." He cleared his throat. "The treasure of Mac is not very far. Once you know where to look, then you'll know where you are. Oh, dear Mac, if you're here, thy great name is alive. Thy back to the river, then 10 paces 5. Oh, most brilliant Mac, the treasure is nigh. Your head must be spinning from looking so high. Oh, Mac, you great rascal, thy foundation is rock. It's dark water below, and below must ye hop. Oh, wondrous Mac, if here faith do ye lack, then ne'er shall ye claim the great treasure of Mac."
Yay!
The girls cheered as soon as he finished. "What is the treasure of Mac, Pop-Pop?" asked Fawn, oldest of the girls. "It's just a fun old treasure-hunting rhyme," Zale replied. "I like to think that old Mac in the end had enough faith to find the greatest treasure of all."
What's the greatest treasure?
asked 6-year-old Sage. It seemed such a simple question, but even the best of treasure hunters would likely never know the answer. Whatever was the largest payout known, merchant sailors only dreamed of fetching an even higher number, a never-ending cycle. Still, Zale found himself imagining where the Grimstone might fit in the greater scheme of high-value cargoes. "If I ever find out, I'll let you know," Zale said. "Okay, I think everything's ready," Haley announced. In short order, they were gathered round a long wooden table, breathing in the rising steam from bowls set before them. "Bring on the eats," cheered Fawn, a spoon already clutched in her hand. "Wait," said Haley. "First, we should say a blessing. Sage, would you like to?" Sage hesitated, but finally answered. "Okay." They bowed heads. "Thank you, Elo, for this day. I hope I have a good day tomorrow. And I hope I like the food. Thank you for the stew. I like it, even though I didn't a few minutes ago. And let Pop-Pop have a safe trip. Selah."
Selah,
everyone repeated. "Glad you came around on the stew, Sage," Zale said with a wry smile. Haley sighed. There was much drama involved earlier over the stew. Dane gestured toward Sage. "I told you you'd like it." Sage mumbled something incoherent into her spoon.
Yucky.
"When do you have to leave, Pop-Pop?" Fawn asked. "As soon as first light on Flam's Day," Zale answered, "if our fortunes hold out. That's after staying overnight on the ship getting everything ready."
And then you won't have to make quotas anymore, right?
Fawn's face lit up with hope. You'll be home a lot more to come visit us. Zale gave her a doting smile. I hope so, sweetie. He looked over at Nova, who was slurping away at her stew, much of it landing on the table. Careful there, Nova. Some of that stew might end up in your mouth. Where are you sailing to this time, Pop-Pop? Fawn asked. We've had a few prospects, actually, Zale replied. One's a beautiful green stone from Korengar called Verdantium. Another's a special kind of space rock for the university in Miskune. What's the other one? Zale's hand, holding a spoonful of stew, stopped halfway to his mouth. How do you know there's another one? You said a few prospects. Usually that means more than two, or you would have said a couple. She bounced in her chair, pleased with herself. So happens there was another job someone approached me with. Something called the Grimstone. This man I met told me that it might somehow help the light of the land. I say 2 to 1 it doesn't exist. In co-op yesterday, said Fawn, one of my friends said the light is fading. It sounds kind of scary. Our land needs the light to survive. It's holy light that the divine, Elo, I think, gave our land when he used lightning to make Alpha Makutu. She referred to the kingdom's famous star-shaped plateau, upon which the king's Metsata palace rested. Just because you heard it, Dane said, doesn't make it true. Fawn continued. Some stories I've read talk about using powers of darkness to help the light. Maybe the Grimstone is something like that. I don't really like you reading those stories, Haley said. They've got too much about the Shadow Age and sorcery and Grimkins, not something you kids need to read. Dane stood from his chair. I'm going to grab that marzipan cake. Yum! Fawn cheered. She turned back to Zale, looking him straight in the eyes. Pop-Pop, if you could really do something to help the light, would you? Dane returned with the marzipan cake. Zale's mouth hung open as though frozen mid-breath. Not because this was his favorite dessert. As the adults served cake to the children, Zale stared pensively into his bowl. Lola's arm was linked in Zale's as they walked under the night glow of the rings, navigating the maze of cobbled streets and alleys on their way home. Neither of them moved particularly fast, especially with their path going in a generally uphill direction. Zale didn't mind. The humid air was warm and pleasant, a light breeze streaming through the alleyways. Soon his next voyage would begin, and he wanted to enjoy this walk with Lola before departing. That meal was zesty sustenance, wasn't it, Wowie? Said Zale. Haley does whip up a mean batch of pottage. Lola returned a delightful smile. That she does. Of course, she learned from the best. You mean the cafe manager down the street, right? He cackled, pushing playfully into Lola. She laughed, as she always did, at his goofiness. Are you and she going to the theater while I'm gone? I think we are. But those dancing men from Eden are just so hard to look at, she jokingly fanned at her face. Oh, just throw a bucket of water on yourself. They conversed further about family, the destinations of Zale's upcoming voyages, home improvement ideas, and things they might want to do once they had more time. They were just discussing how they might start a small garden when another voice stopped them short. Lovely night for a stroll, Captain. A pale-skinned man stepped out from a side alley and into their path. Zale squinted and took a step ahead of Lola. Already his hackles were up. He only wished he had his sword with him. His family had come to prefer that he not carry it when visiting the kids, which he begrudgingly obliged. The man came closer, and the dim light from a street lamp illuminated his face. Vitamir? Memory of a cold purple fire ignited in Zale's mind. This man had known too much about Zale's family even back in the tavern. And here he was again, an encounter that Zale assumed to be more than coincidence. I'm glad you recognize me, Vidimir said. I understand your ship is nearly ready to depart. I don't really think my ship is any of your concern, Zale said. No need to be defensive, Captain. I approach you merely as a man with much at stake. Those can be the worst, Zale replied. What is it you want? Merely to ask you a question. If you could really do something to save the light, would you? Zale's heart skipped. Lola gasped. It was the exact question Fawn had asked earlier. Vidimir gave an insidious half-smirk. Kids do say the darndest things, don't they? You stay the hell away from my family! Vidimir laughed. Don't worry. I have better things to be concerned with than your family. It is, however, a fantastic question. It is, in fact, a question I've already placed before you. I do so hope, Captain, that when you set sail, it is the Grimstone you seek. It is a most urgent service to your kingdom. Turns out everyone tends to think their need is most urgent. I'll pursue what best suits me and my crew. Your particular curio is ethereal mythology. We could circumnavigate nations and wander islands for weeks and come up with nothing. Did I not point you in the right direction, Captain? Rest assured you can trust my information. The Grimstone is out there, ripe for the taking. I don't trust you as far as I can piss. Vidimir adjusted his shirt collar. Are you a gambling man, Captain? I don't gamble, Vidimir. I calculate. That's why I'm the best. Nor do I, Vidimir said. I hedge my commissions most carefully. For every man who claims he's the best, another stands eager to prove him wrong. It comes down to this. You will retrieve what I seek, or someone else will. And be assured that your kingdom will remember those who answered the call to service, and those who did not. Is that some sort of threat? Zale growled. It is simple reality. The choice is yours, Captain Murdoch. Vidimir gave a curt nod. Pleasant night to you both. He spun on his heels and walked into the shadows of the side alley. Moments later, when Zale peered into the side alley's length, the man was gone without a trace. "Captain aboard!" cried Dippy upon the deck of the Queenie. As deckhands scurried about, he grabbed at the rope of a nearby bell and gave it a hasty ringing. "I say, Captain aboard!" Most of the crew turned in sudden realization. "At attention, men," bellowed Zale. Silence fell across the deck. "Officers, report!" Everyone else, as you were. Although not sailing until the next day, Zale was clothed in fine seafaring array. One of his best blue tunics covered a white shirt, V-necked over a field of chest hairs. A monocle rested within a small pocket of his tunic, secured to a button by a gold chain. Upon his shoulders rested a navy blue captain's coat with brass buttons down the flaps, its long tail hanging to the knees of his sandy-colored trousers. Below his knees were the turned-down tops of his brown cavalier boots. His best brown leather tricorn hat, complete with white, red, and blue feathers, covered his head, routing the breeze cleanly across the sides of his face, and his favorite saber was sheathed at his side. He drew in a deep breath of the salty air, observing the friendly white clouds across a perfect sky. We can't cut the waves soon enough, Dippy. This wind is exactly where I want it." "Yes, sir, I quite agree," Dippy replied. Within moments, Casper Beep Gibbers, Yancey Fump Willigan, Rosh Chimchum Pureblood, and Yvette Caskmore stood before Zale and Dippy. Zale scanned the area and found the smooth-headed man he sought. "You too, Fulgar." The plump form of Jackson Wigglebelly Harper emerged from the galley, puffy chef's hat upon his head, grasping a large pot with oven mitts. He walked up to the other officers and stood in place. Zale frowned. "Not you, Wigglebelly."
Yeah.
Wigglebelly spoke in his light, airy voice.
Just passing through, man. Whole crew's here.
"That they are," Zale said. "As you all can see, we now have a full crew. Quick introductions would be appropriate. Mr. Fulger Geth will act as our onboard physiker and chaplain." Fulger bowed in greeting.
Healer and spiritual guide, sir. Thank you.
"Right," Zale mumbled. "Take your physical and psychological woes to him." "Hey," Chim said. "Our chaplain's name rhymes with vulgar."
Well, that makes him a perfect fit for this crew,
Beep said. "Next," Zale said, "we have Miss Yvette Caskmore. She is a seasoned coxswain and will lead our rowing team. In fact, she brings with her 4 able rowers and deckhands, because, after all, many hands make faster plunder." He took note of the shifty glances already darting around. "Yes, she's a female. I'll tolerate no shenanigans on that account. Thump, ready her a private space within the hold. Is all copacetic with your quartermaster's mate?" "Aye, Captain," Thump replied. "All's well. He's a bland sort of fellow. If he were spice, he'd be flour. But he gets the job done." Wigglebelly chuckled.
Flower! That's good, man.
Beep turned to him with a scowl.
Why are you still here, Wigglebelly?
Zale cleared his throat. "All right, men. Crew. Sorry, Yvette. You might have to answer alongside the men until I get used to that." "No need to change your methods on my account, Captain," Yvette said. Zale nodded. "Back to your final preparations. Dippy and I will be about the ship to ensure all's well." "Dismissed." The officers dispersed and Zale turned to Yvette. He wanted to personally drive home his support of her command as coxswain. "Miss Caskmore, what do you say we set things to order with your team?" "Sounds good, Captain," she replied. "Dippy, assemble all who will act as oarsmen in the event of need." "Yes, sir." Dippy yanked at the bell pull. "Oarsmen below deck on the double." Those not already below made their way down the staircase. Zale, Dippy, and Yvette descended to the main inner deck of the Queenie, which housed the oarsmen benches as well as the crew hammocks. Zale inhaled the stout, woody aroma of the ship's roastwood planks as they entered. It was something like the charred logs of a campfire, but he loved it. The galley was just ahead from the bottom of the stairs and below Zale's cabin in the ship's aft. From here they turned the opposite direction. This was also known as the berthing deck, where rows of hammocks hung from the support beams. Positioned between the hammocks were the oarsmen benches. To landlubbers it might look like insufferable clutter, but to Zale it was pure function. Often the hammocks were removed and stored during daytime shifts, with only a few left out for those on nighttime duty. Beyond the benches, moving toward the bow, were the stairs down to the hold, officers' quarters, and sick bay. Dippy blew his little whistle to signal their coming, an alert to the crew that the captain was on deck. The commotion of voices and movement dissipated. Zale made his way toward the center aisle between the rowing benches, his boots clomping heavily upon the boards. He stopped briefly beside Dippy and counted 11 men among the benches. "Is this everyone? I thought we had a dozen assigned oarsmen."
Yes, sir. Mostly. It seems we are missing one of our designated oarsmen at present. That would be our newly appointed navigator and carpenter, Jensen." Perhaps he's conducting a repair, sir.
Jensen, Zale repeated in a low, growling voice, rolling his eyes. Let's hope so. Dippy remained like a sentry at the base of the stairs as Zale continued down the aisle. Yvette planted herself at the start of the aisle, arms crossed and hard eyes scanning the area and the men she would command during any situation that required the use of oars. "As you've no doubt heard, we have a new coxswain aboard for this voyage," Zale said, pacing the aisle. "I'm here to set her charge in order. She comes with 4 able-bodied coxswain's mates, who will also serve as deckhands where needed." He nodded in the direction of the new crew members. "Introduce yourselves, men." "Archie Hunt," said the first, his skin like dark mahogany.
"Cal Norton,"
said the next, a strapping young man.
"Winston Clergy,"
said a middle-aged fellow.
"Fritz Flitter,"
said the last, a man of wildfire orange and brown hair. "Your proficiency as oarsmen could make all the difference in a pinch," Zale said. "We race not only to bring in a copious bounty, but also against the mastery bar, of which we are very much within reach. Now, I turn your attention to Coxswain Yvette Caskmore." Murmurs and sneers filled the deck. Zale watched closely for anyone who dared insolence, and also how Yvette would handle it. Yvette slung her arms behind her back and stepped forward, shoulders back and head held high.
"Oarsmen of the Queenie, listen up. When we are called to the sweeps, my voice will be your guide, your light in the darkness. By its command, you will make this ship soar through the waves like an arrow in the wind. By my direction, you will bank us around sea stacks and turn us toward or away from enemy engagement. I am your eyes. My voice is your conscience. You will hear it during the day. You will hear it in your dreams at night."
"I expect we will," muttered one of the oarsmen, Jonas. He nudged his shipmate, who remained smartly rigid. Yvette cast the man a sharp glare.
"I have on good authority that I'm the only one here to lack a certain male body part. Get on my bad side and you might find yourself lacking the same. Whether gelding or stallion, I will motivate you to move this ship. Are we clear?"
She was met with silence.
I said, "Are we clear?"
The oarsman gave a jolted "Aye," followed by a nearly incoherent mix of "sir" and "ma'am." Yvette gave a satisfied nod.
"Captain, with your permission, I'd like to acquaint these men with my primary calls and commands."
For a moment, Zale almost believed that she commanded him, too. He recovered, straightening his posture. "The deck is yours, Madam Coxswain." Zale's office chair creaked in protest as he sat back from the desk of his private quarters. He took the spectacles from his face and rubbed the bridge of his nose. He tossed his glasses lightly upon the stack of flax sheets before him. This was his least favorite part of any voyage, the pre-departure paperwork. A mess of expenses, ship's logs, accounts and certificates of provisions, guild documents of crew members added and released, a slop book with a meal plan from Wigglebelly that might as well have been written in slop. Zale stared through the aft windows at the increasing brightness of Elioran's planetary rings as the sky darkened to twilight. It was late into the day's 22nd hour. Most of the crew had already supped aboard the ship, partaking of whatever manner of gruel Wigglebelly and his mates could throw together amongst final preparations. Tonight, everyone was to stay aboard the Queenie. At first light, they were scheduled to leave port. Their destinations were set. First, they would put their stern to the rings and sail north for Coringar. After that, they were bound for Acadia in the east. "That's the right move," Zale continued telling himself. Vidamir's sudden appearance and persistence last night had been meant to scare him into racing off to find the Grimstone. To Zale, it made things all the more suspicious. Still, as a cautionary measure, he paid off a couple of friendly soldiers in town to keep an eye on his family. One could never be too careful. If Vidimir really was some off-color pawn of nobility, it seemed there was a coordinated effort to keep both Zale's and Seadread's crews from reaching the mastery bar. It could be the kingdom's underhanded effort to ensure they both stayed in active service. Zale was quite content to call their bluff. A knock sounded on his door.
"Come in,"
Zale called. Fulgar entered.
"You asked to see me, Captain?"
"Please, sir, have a seat."
Zale gestured toward a small padded chair. Zale landed within his own creaky chair, taking a moment to stare at the Physiker. Fulgar was a bit too undefined for Zale's taste. He meant to learn more, find out his motivations.
"Have you been able to set your space in order?" Zale asked.
"Yes, Captain. The onboard supplies were admittedly lacking, but I have supplemented them, I think, sufficiently enough with my own cache of instruments and medicinals to handle most injuries and ailments."
"Good to hear," Zale said. "I can't help but wonder, Doctor, the Physiker."
Fulgar smiled politely.
"Healer, please, sir."
"Healer. I can't help but wonder how you came to know of the unoccupied stations of our crew. How did you know we lacked a Physiker?"
"It's well known, sir, that the famous Captain Murdoch can be found at the Wench's Tavern whenever he's between jobs. It's also known that much of his crew loiters about Friendly Oaf's taproom. That is where I caught word of your openings, sir. I hope this does not displease you."
"Not at all," Zale answered dismissively. Of course, he knew that taproom well, being the place where his own daughter worked. "Then these short voyages to Korengar and Acadia were enough to entice you to seek me out?"
"To sail with the great Captain Murdoch? Of course." It wasn't the first time someone had sought to join his crew for such a reason, but Zale didn't feel entirely convinced. Fulgar seemed a man of experience, not the type so easily guided by the fame of his boss. He would keep a watchful eye on this one. Zale rose from his chair, indicating an end to their meeting.
"I trust you'll understand, Healer, that yours is one post I hope does not need to prove its worth."
Fulgar stood in turn.
"I quite agree, sir."
He made for the door, stopping just as he reached it.
"However, I must say, Captain, that I'd rather hoped you would pursue the other opportunity at hand."
Zale frowned with a blink of confusion. Fulgar lowered his voice dramatically.
"The Grimstone?"
"Ah, so there it is," Zale thought.
"So," Zale replied flatly, "it would seem there is more to you than the piously noble healer we see on the surface. You might as well sit back down."
Zale walked past Fulgar, opening his door to shout at the nearest seaman.
"You there! See that I get a stein of ale straight away."
He closed the door.
"Not even yet at sea, Healer Fulgar, and you've already got me drinking."
It was a warm, breezy night in the harbor of Warvonia, Starlina's favorite kind of weather. She laughed and jogged with Jensen, hand in hand, their steps thumping against the wooden docks. They had enjoyed a picnic supper together along the waterfront, watching the sun disappear behind them. After they were done, they took a stroll with no particular aim, as they had done so many times since childhood. So far the evening had been wonderful. She felt relaxed in his presence, free to just enjoy herself. She was comfortably dressed in a white sleeveless top, a blue miniskirt patterned with yellow suns and moons, and white sandals. She had painstakingly styled her hair in rope-like braids that coursed across the side parting, wrapped both ways around her head and tied together in the back. She had even had a pendant formed around the lilac kuntapite Jensen had given her. It dangled about her neck from a silver chain like a pinkish-purple teardrop. Jensen was garbed in his sailing clothes, a loose gray shirt, tan pants, and a hooded jacket. It was a subtle reminder that he would be leaving soon, a reminder she tried to push out of her mind. He was, by now, supposed to already be aboard the ship. "I want to spend every moment I can with you first," he had told her. Then he led her toward the docks. She chose to believe it was just more aimless fun, more loitering about with different scenery. Starlina frowned when she saw her father's ship, the Queenie. Before she knew it, Jensen was leading her up the gangway. "Jensen, have you lost your mind?" Starlina hissed, although she couldn't help but chortle at the roguishness of it all. "Shh!" He removed his hooded jacket and placed it upon her shoulders. "No sense making you too obvious." "But what are we even doing here?" She tucked her long hair into the hood and pulled it taut. "You'll be in so much trouble if we're caught. You're supposed to be working, and I'm not supposed to be here at all." He waved her off. "They won't have even noticed I was gone." "You know I don't like being aboard ships, Jensen." "Yes, I know, but I thought you might at least fancy a quick tour of my home away from home. That and the view of the rings across the water from the stern is absolutely stunning. This is my father's ship. I've seen it before." "Not with me on it," he replied with a wink. They stepped onto the main deck, the bustling crew paying them little heed in the darkening twilight. Jensen led her up the stairs to the short quarterdeck, location of the helm, where he gave the ship's wheel a pat. "Don't you find it special, Starlina, to be upon your father's ship just before send-off?" She puffed derisively. She wanted this time with Jensen, but he knew how she felt about ships and sailing. "Oh, please, I haven't so much as heard from Father in the last week. It's completely unknown to me where you're even going this time. Just away from Warvonia, from home." "I imagine he made certain to bid farewell to his wife's grandchildren. Darlings, all of them, but they're not even blood relations." They stepped up to the stern deck. Jensen led them toward the very end of the ship. The water stretched before them and away from the harbor, like liquid glass reflecting the soft whiteness of the moon and rings. Jensen spread his arms wide, his hair whipping in the breeze. "You see that, Starlina? What do you think?" She stared into the beyond, the gateway to lands that were not for her. "It is beautiful," she conceded, "like a rippling tapestry." "Now, imagine being completely surrounded by that view on all sides. Breathtaking, isn't it? It's the absolute perfect backdrop." She noticed his hand fiddling with something in his pocket. I have a question for you." "No, not here," Starlina thought with alarm. She turned away, walking towards starboard. "And what's so great about it, really? It's just a massive field of water." What's so great?" Jensen followed her to the starboard taffrail. "It's what every sailor dreams of. Those open waters, the horizon laid out before you. It's like freedom." She spun toward him with a severe look. "Freedom from what? From home? From commitment? From the family you leave behind?" She turned back away, looking out toward the ships of the harbor stretching into the north. "Why have I fallen in love with such a dolt?" she thought. "Will he never understand?" No, that's not what I mean." "I really think I need to leave this place, Jensen," Starlina said. "Starlina, please. This is what I'm made for. This is what I'm good at. I love nothing more than sharing it with you." She wanted all the more to get away. On some level, she knew that she chose to suppress the differences between Jensen and her, focusing only on the good. She had for years. Being here, aboard this ship, only brought those differences to the surface, making them impossible to ignore. "What you love is the ocean," she said. "This ship, my father. I just can't." She stopped, squinting into the distance. A purplish flicker had caught her eye. "What is that?" Jensen looked in the same direction. "Is that a
Purple fire? How strange.
I think maybe you should tell someone, Jansen.
He hesitated only a moment.
Yes, I think maybe I should. Just stay up here, Starlina. I'll be right back.